Good morning and welcome to another dose of the Daily Present Live with myself, John Ball, and I am the lead coach and facilitator at Present Influence, which is all about training and public speaking and presentation skills and learning the tools of influence and persuasion from platform, whether that be a live stage or for most of us right now, virtual platforms, online and video and the likes. Today, I want to talk about something that I think is really important, which is about beliefs and where they come from, how we talk to ourselves more than anything else, the things that we tell ourselves to be true. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today on my Daily Present Live, and so stick with us and let's hear what you think as well as we get into it. Welcome to the Daily Present. Now, one thing's for sure, we all have beliefs about ourselves. Beliefs in things we can do, beliefs in things we can't do, beliefs about what we look like, what we feel like, what other people think of us even, about our position, our place in the world. And what we tend to forget is that they are just beliefs, they are just thoughts, and they seem to have evidence, they seem to have things that support them as well, maybe experience, maybe from the past, but they're not always positive, they're not always supportive beliefs that we have. So what happens when you want to do more in your life and you feel that you're not really able to do that because you don't believe you can? You don't believe that you have the quality to do that. Maybe you think you're too introverted, or maybe you think you're too extroverted and annoy people. Maybe you think that you're too tall, too short, too fat, too thin, too old, too young, too something, or not enough something to be able to go and do that thing that you want to do. And one thing I know from years of working with people, years of coaching people, is that nearly always the reasons why people don't do things and don't even try a lot of the time is because of what they say to themselves, because of how you talk to yourself, and that we talk ourselves out of it. And just as guilty of this as anyone else. And I think one thing that was definitely true and rings home for me was the quote from Henry Ford, which is, now whether you believe you can or can't do a thing, you're right. That is, it starts with your mindset. Like, games and battles are won or lost before they've even started because of the decisions we've already made about ourselves and who we are and what we're capable of. We don't see ourselves as being unlimited generally. We see ourselves as being really quite limited most of the time. So where do those beliefs come from? Well, they come from many different parts of life. They can come from personal experience. A lot of them can come from childhood. Many of them come from beliefs that you've absorbed, that you sponged in your childhood, that you just took on and maybe didn't question or didn't have the level of understanding to be able to question them, because many times we get told we're a certain way or a certain type of person, and we end up believing that. And what ends up happening when we have those kinds of beliefs is that we end up almost creating really the justifications for them, the evidence of those beliefs. We create what is going to support them by how we show up in our lives and on a day-to-day basis. So what we believe about ourselves is really important, and how we talk to ourselves is critically important. And very often we don't even think about how we talk to ourselves. We don't even think about that at all, because we just think about what it is that is going on, and we get distracted. We're too busy engaged on social media or thinking about what other people are doing, or too busy with all the work we've got to do. I realized the Henry Ford tweet didn't show up properly before. We'll play it again. But we get too preoccupied, and we don't often spend enough time reflecting on what's going on inside our minds with our own beliefs and ideas and thoughts. And I think that's where it comes to be a problem. Like, the first step here has to be awareness, whether the beliefs have come from environment, experience, from things you've absorbed from other people, from models that you've had of people you've learned from. The same thing needs to happen. You need awareness of what the unsupportive beliefs are that you may have, to start thinking about, well, does that belief even serve you? Is it even actually true? When did you decide that? How did you decide that? And is that still true now? Does it have to be true? Because one thing's for sure, if you're going to limit yourself, you're going to cut yourself off from multiple opportunities in life. If you're telling yourself you can't do it and you can hold yourself back, then you're going to look for keeping yourself small. You're going to look for taking opportunities that fit within wherever you are and cut yourself off from everything else. And so I love it when I see people who go out into the world and maybe get criticized by other people for how they look or for how they sound or for one thing or another that isn't necessarily relevant to what they're doing, but they go and do it anyway. Things that you might be a sort of general opinion or negative feeling about someone, but they go and do it anyway. They put themselves out there, they do something because it's in their heart to do it, and they're not going to be stopped by limiting beliefs about themselves, about how they look, or about what their position is, or whether they should be doing it or not. They go out and do it and make it happen. And I think when we can get more into that way of thinking, it actually is usually a benefit to everybody, because it starts to open doors and possibilities, rather than, I think what ends up happening is that we feel often that the doors of opportunity are only open to a very limited group of people who either have extreme levels of talent or are extremely appealing in some way, physically, mentally, or something or other. But we tend to think that there's that elite level that people have, and all the rest of us are just kind of destined to sort of hover somewhere much lower than that and sort of circle in their orbit. But it doesn't have to be that way. And again, this comes down to decisions that we end up making about ourselves. I know a lot of people end up being afraid of putting themselves out on camera and putting stuff like this. I know even I had some stuff coming up about doing these kinds of things live every day, and I have to take a breath before I start and do it, and sort of say, okay, let's just have a few thoughts written down and launch into it and do it and see what happens anyway, rather than just talking myself out of it, which I think is the other option, that I'll end up talking myself out of it if I give myself enough opportunity to, or telling myself, well, no one wants to hear what I've got to say, no one wants to watch or pay attention to me. It's like, okay, well, that is not supportive self-talk. I find the experience I've been having when I put out content into the world is that most of the feedback that comes back is actually positive, and I get messages back from people who their content is helping them or getting them to think about something, or enlightening or engaging in some way. And it really needs to be that we put out good stuff into the world as well. I think if you put out boring content, then you're going to be boring. But even then, you may still have an audience for it. You may still have people who's like, okay, well, that's an energy that I connect with. I think it's good to be a bit more energetic online and to have a good energy and a good attitude about yourself when you're on there. But everyone has something to offer. And that's one of the good things about social media and the platforms that we all now have available to us. If you're hiding away from that, if you're thinking, oh, I can't do that, you're already limiting yourself from being able to be more known. And if you want to be someone who is looked up to and respected for what you do in your industry, for your work, then I think it's really important to be able to get past that. Now, the beliefs you have about yourself, I think, are really critical in helping you to do that. And it's not always easy to weed out those unsupportive beliefs that we have. And so you may need a bit of help in doing that. And there are always people who will help you do that, or sometimes even just a bit of self-reflection time. I think one of the best things we can do to help get a bit of more of a sense of that is try and catch ourselves with the things that we say to ourselves. So if you are seeing an opportunity or looking at something, or even watching this and thinking, I wish I was doing sort of daily videos and stuff like that. And then, well, just ask yourself, why aren't I doing that? What comes up for you? What are the thoughts? Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not comfortable enough. I'm not, I don't have enough to say. No one wants to listen to me. Those are all limiting beliefs. And so the first step is having the awareness of those. Write them down and start to think about, what would you actually like to believe instead of that? What would be a supportive belief? If this is something you want to do, or there's anything that you want to do that you talk yourself out of, what would be a supportive belief that helps you along the way, that would be a better way for you to talk to yourself? So rather than dampening the flames of desire for the things that you want, instead stoke them and build them up with positive self-talk. There has to be some awareness, I think, of not going down the path of self-delusion, that you don't want to be convincing yourself that you're good at something or can do something that you really can't. But that said, go down your path and fulfill your journey. Do what's in your heart to do, and nearly always you will find your tribe. Even people who have been told that they're untalented or terrible at what they do still often will find their tribe and find the people who appreciate what they do and are glad they're out there. Too often it's a fear of criticism, and I think the fear of criticism ties in with people validating or supporting the negative beliefs we have about ourselves. Because if someone criticizes you for something that you don't actually believe is true about yourself, it doesn't really affect you. If you think, okay, well, yeah, it's your opinion, it's fine, but it's not really true. But when it stings, when it hurts, is when we think it might be true, or when it is something we actually believe about ourselves, even if we don't show that to the world. So that's where criticism starts to become a problem for us, or if we actually start to buy too much into other people's opinions and thoughts of us and not enough into our own. I think it's a good idea to have a bit of external validation and take criticism as well as positivity from the external world, but don't let that be everything for you. It's like, have your own beliefs and let external forces be a validation of, am I going in the right direction or not a determination of how you feel about yourself. So when you start to identify perhaps some of the negative beliefs that you might be carrying around with yourself, and things that may have been with you for years and years, since childhood, then you can actually start to do something about them. Now, I'm not going to say you can get rid of them completely. Maybe in some cases you can. But the way we tend to work, the way our brains tend to be wired, is that we usually end up with thoughts and beliefs that have been there a long time, being very well implanted, very well stuck there. I think the best we can do sometimes is really just to work on building up a new and stronger and more empowering belief for ourselves that feels better and that helps us and supports us, and that hopefully that generally becomes stronger the more we practice it. I know that there are all sorts of techniques and methodologies for helping to install positive beliefs, but the simplest perhaps is really just to change the way you talk to yourself. To use things like declarations, not to try and convince yourself of something that isn't true, but to remind yourself that this is how you want to talk to yourself, and this is how you want to show up in the world, and this is what you believe your potential can be, because it feels better than talking bad about yourself. There's one of my favorite books is the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And I'm not one of those particularly woo-woo spiritual people, but I love the Four Agreements. And one of those Four Agreements is to be impeccable with your word. And the reason I like that is because it's not just about talking well about other people. It's also about talking well to yourself and about yourself. As much as it's not a nice thing or a good thing to be super negative or really pejorative to other people, it's also not good to do that to yourself. And we tend to be much harder on ourselves than we ever are on anybody else. And that says to us, we will often be really tough with ourselves, we'll be really harsh. And we have these things going through our heads that probably if other people could hear our internal monologues, our internal conversations with ourselves, people would probably be horrified at the things we say to ourselves, things that you probably never would say to someone else. Now, if you know that there's some things like that going on for you in your mind, then it's definitely time to create a little bit of awareness and start thinking about what you want to believe instead. What would be supportive? What would actually be a better way to talk to yourself that would say, rather than saying, okay, I'm terrible at this, or I can't do this, or there's no way, that's not for people like me, or whatever the negative belief is for you, to start to change that. Have the awareness of what it is, and then think about what you want it to be instead, and start practicing a new way of talking to yourself that is more uplifting and supportive. Like, it's generally nicer to show up in the world as someone who is supportive of other people, right? And who is helpful to others and talks well of other people. We like being around positivity. We like being around people who say nice things and really sort of notice the good things in other people, much more than we like hanging around perhaps with the negative people, the people who are always complaining and criticizing, which are very sort of down and negative energies. But yet we will happily often do that to ourselves, or unwittingly sometimes do that to ourselves, because we tend to fall into that as a habit. It's more of a default state unless you do something about it. So don't feel bad that you've had these things going on and negative self-talk and all this for however long. Just know that there are things you can do about it to start to change that and to have more positive feelings about yourself and to support yourself in your journey forward. Now, I work with a lot of people who want to improve how they show up on camera, how they show up on stage in public speaking, presentations, events, workshops, and that kind of thing. And very often people will hold themselves back in those environments for many of the reasons we talked about, telling themselves that, oh, I can't go on stage, people won't like my voice, or people won't think I'm attractive enough, or people will be distracted, or they don't really pay attention to me. Everyone has something if you let yourself be dominated by those negative thoughts and beliefs about yourself. And yet, when you push past those, it becomes bigger than just you. You actually start giving the opportunity to other people to say, hey, look, somebody's out there doing something that you don't normally see someone who is like them doing, and they're doing it anyway. You're like, well, great. You are suddenly giving permission to other people to go and do that as well. That can be super empowering, not just for you, but for them too. So don't just think about what it is you want to believe. Go beyond that and remember who you're really doing this for, because the people I work with are not out there putting stuff into the world, putting content out there, presentations, talks and lights for their own ego. They're doing it because they want to be of service, doing it because they want to help other people, because they have a message, they have a heart that can potentially benefit people and make people's life or experience or make something better in the world, even if it's just making people laugh, which I think is a real gift to be putting out, especially in these times. And anything good that you're putting out there, it's not just about you, it becomes about something much bigger. And when you get focused on that and why you're doing it and who you're doing it for and who you're serving, the bigger you can go with who you're serving and why you're doing it, the more the goal starts to pull you towards it, rather than being something that you have to push yourself towards, which I think is where people often find themselves struggling. Like the journey to success for many people is a long road. It's not a simple pathway, and so there can be challenges that will come up. There'll be times when maybe you even get bored and or things become mundane and not so exciting. The shine wears off, and you get that shiny object syndrome, where other things start to look more attractive and easier, but you haven't really got where you want to get with the thing that you're already doing. And so when you have goals and desires that are super attractive to you, and you get really focused on the why, and it's bigger than just about what you get to have for yourself and what you get out of it, those things are fine, but go bigger than that, and you will have goals and desires that pull you towards them, rather than having to push yourself towards it. Because if you're having to always just push yourself and not feeling pulled towards what you want, and I think when you get challenged, when you get to the difficult points, there's more chance that you're going to drop away from what you're doing. And the reality is in life that I guess people don't really always want to hear is that most things take work. If everything was easy, as much as we'd like things to be easier often, if everything was easy, there would be no challenge. There would be everyone would be able to have whatever they wanted, because there would be no obstacles, no obstructions to it. And that's just not so. So when things get a bit difficult, when things get a bit challenging, keep yourself going because of who you're doing it for, because it's bigger than just you. It matters more than just you for yourself. And so having supportive self-belief on that journey is really going to bolster you and support you to move forward more powerfully and get yourself out there. Now, I do know that beliefs in themselves rely on action as well. We have to not just have the belief, but actually put it out into practice in our daily lives. Like we have to be showing up as the person that we want to believe ourselves to be. So it's not all just mindset work. We actually have to do the work in our lives as well. But I do believe that once you get into the action and once you start doing stuff with that and putting those things into practice in your life, that can actually start to strengthen the new beliefs that you have about yourself. And when you see those new beliefs evidenced in your life, they become stronger, and it becomes easier to let go or even eliminate, reduce the older negative beliefs, which may still pop up from time to time, especially in times of stress. Our brains tend to go back to older beliefs and older, perhaps seemingly safer ways for our brain of thinking when we're under a lot of stress. So expect that some of that stuff may still crop up again from time to time, but get yourself back on track as soon as you can and work on having those empowering beliefs for yourself that are going to help you to move forward more powerfully and have a better life experience. Now, I do have some things that can help. And if you are someone who is looking to improve your beliefs and you're a speaker or a presenter and you want to do some presentation work, then there is something that may be able to help you. And I have a free ebook on my website, which is called the 5 Key Beliefs for Bulletproof Business Speakers, that can help you with getting clear on where those old beliefs come from and what you can do about creating awareness about them, and how to install some new beliefs that might actually support you and make you feel better as a presenter, as a trainer, and feel more confident on stage. The kind of beliefs that often come with years of experience to get there. That's available for free to download on presentinfluence.com. So feel free to go there and visit that and check out that download and let me know what you think. So I'm going to pretty much wrap things up there for today. But if you're not already following me on YouTube, please do give a like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me today, whether you're on live or watching a replay. Make sure you hit the bell button as well. The bell icon will alert you of any new broadcast, because there are regularly podcast episodes going out with guests. There's a lot going on right now. A new podcast coming out as well. So recordings happening for that on live broadcast, so you can tune in with all that. Great guests coming through. Last week, I had the political speechwriter Simon Lancaster. This week, I spoke to the posh Cockney entrepreneur Liam Norval, and many more great guests coming up. In fact, next week, I'm having a chat with one of my favorite people, Dana Farrant, who is a super badass business advisor and a great speaker and a wonderful person. So look out for what's coming up. Make sure that you are liked and subscribed. I will look forward to connecting with you again. Come say hello. Come and find me on LinkedIn. Find me on Clubhouse. In fact, on Clubhouse right now, my ad is John A. Ball. So come find me there. I'll give you a follow back as well. I'd like to see you there. I'm still finding my way around, so perhaps you can give me a few pointers on how to use it, or what rooms to be in, who to be following and paying attention to, and that kind of thing. And I wish you luck with finding your negative beliefs. If you want some help with that, let me know. And if you need to do a bit of work on that, and you want someone outside who has a bit of understanding and who's worked with hundreds of people for many years around the world on doing those kinds of things, drop me a line and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day and talk well to yourself. Be impeccable with your word to yourself. Say nice things to yourself. Find one good thing you can tell yourself about how you want to be in your life that you don't normally always say to yourself, even if it's just I like me, I love me, or I can do this, or I am enough. Whatever it is for you, find one positive thing to say to yourself today. I'll be back again with more Daily Presents very soon, and check out our Facebook. So the Speaking of Influence Facebook group is there for you. Please do come and join us. You have to apply to join. It's a private group, but I'll let you in once you've answered a few questions, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care, everyone.